Hey everyone, so in this video we will study about relations. So first we make a recap to the previous topics, that is what we have studied in class 11, and then we will continue to the topics of class 12. So first of all let us understand what is a relation. In usual terms or in literal sense, we say that a relation is some kind of rule, or you can say it's some way to associate two objects. Say the objects are A and B, and we want to associate them, or we want to find some link between them. So that can be done by a relation. We will write it like A or B. Means A is related to B. So, for example, suppose you are considering the ages of all your family members. So what relation can be there? It is the elderness. Means who is elder than whom? Suppose you are considering your parents, and A is your father and say B is your brother. So we can say obviously A will be greater than B, because if you consider the age of A and age of B, so clearly there will be some link between them, some rule to associate them. So we can say here that A is greater than B. The age of your father is greater than the age of your brother. So in that sense, we can link or we can relate these two elements by some rule. That rule is called the relation between these two elements. So whenever we are considering objects, we can coin the term sets here, because sets are the collection of objects. So here what we do in mathematics, we want to somehow make a generalization for this kind of concept. That is, we want to make some mathematical structure that will depend upon this rule. Okay? So that thing we do here. So how we can express this concept mathematically? So that we will see. So that we do by this that we do in this way. Suppose we are considering A as the collection of some objects, and we are considering another collection B with some other objects, and we want to say that if we take some element from A and some element from B, then there will be some relation between A and B. So that thing, if we see that somehow they are related by some relation, we express it as an ordered pair. So we make pair of all those elements which are related to each other, and consider this collection R as with these elements which are related to each other. So we write it like this: A belongs to capital A and B belongs to capital B, and there are some relation between A and B. So these kinds of sets, which consist of this kind of elements, which express the relationship between two objects in these two sets, is called a relation between A and B. So here we can say R is a relation between A and B. So this is the way we mathematically express a relation between two sets. So suppose we want to express a relation between the elements of a single set. Suppose we are considering a relation between the elements of A. So instead of writing A belongs to A and B belongs to B, if we write it like this: R equals to the ordered pair AB, where AB belongs to A, both belongs to A, and A R B, then this will serve our need, and we can say that this is a relation R is a relation on A or from A to A. So this is the way we express relation mathematically. So the example I was saying about that we considered the ages of all your family members, and we impose the relation elderness in this collection. So suppose we are considering the set suppose we are considering the set A that stands for ages. It is the collection of all of ages of all your family members. So we can write it in roster form like this. Say for some family, a collection consists of these elements, say 70, say 44, and say 50. These are the elements of this set. It is some family with 3 members, where usually this becomes the age of the son. This is the mother, and this is for the father. So if we consider the relationship elderness, so what we see, how many pairs we can construct? So we can construct pairs like this A, B, where the rule is the elderness. So we write instead as A, B, where AB belongs to this collection A, and A is, say, elder than B. So is elder than, it is the relation R. Okay. So let us see how many pairs we can construct it. So first of all, we can construct, since A is the elder one, so we can say this 50 is elder than 44, then 50 is elder than 17, then 50 is done, then 44 is elder than 70, and there is no pair with 70 in the first position. So this is the collection for this relation. So this is how we can express the relation elderness within this set. So this is the way we construct relations. Okay, so next let us be more specific about this relation. What else we can say about this collection? So suppose you are doing some relation between A and B. It is some relation between A and B. And so the relation is R equals to this ordered pair AB, where A belongs to A, B belongs to B, and there is some relation between A and B. So what can we say about these elements? From in which standard set this element belongs? It is the ordered pair AB. So we can say these ordered pairs are the elements of this set A cross B. It is the Cartesian product of, or the cross product of A and B. So see, if we consider this set, we can see all the elements of this relation are some members of this set A cross B. In this way, we can consider this set R, or the relation R, as a sub-collection or the subset of A cross B. So, and see, if we see it in the reverse way, that if we construct the set A cross B, say this is a set A cross B, and we collect any subpart of it, then we can find a few elements which are in this form, in this ordered pair. So in some way we can say this is the collection R. That means if this collection consists of elements like order pair AB, then we can say only those elements will be related to each other which belongs to this set. So if AB is some element in this set R, then we can say A is related to B by some relation, that we name R. So what I am trying to say is that every relation can be thought of as a subset of this set A cross B. So whenever we are considering relation from A to B, we can say it is a subset of the Cartesian product A cross B. That we take as the definition of a relation between two sets A and B. So let me write the definition here. A relation between A and B is a subset of A cross B. So in this way we define the relation between two sets. So the first question comes here is the thing that how many relations can we construct if from two sets, say we are taking the sets A and B. So how many relations can we construct from A to B, provided the number of elements of A and B. So if the numbers of elements of these two sets are given, then how many relations can we construct between these two sets? So that is our first question. So let us assume that there are m elements in the first set and there are m elements in the there are p elements, say, because m stands for the number of elements here. So we are considering p elements in the set B and m elements in the set A. So how many relations or how many these kind of order pairs we can construct? How many of this kind of sets we can construct? Because each of these sets, which is subset of this A cross B, is a relation. So that is saying basically that first of all, what is the number of elements in A cross B? It is m into p, and that comes from the formula that n of A into n of B. Now the next question is, how many subsets of A cross B can be found if there are mp elements in the set A cross B? So we consider the power set P of A cross B. And what is the number? So we take the number of elements in the power set, and that stands for 2 to the power n of A cross B. And what is the number here? N of A cross B, it is mp. So we take mp, 2 to the power mp. Okay. So we know that for each set, phi is subset of that set. So here we can think that for this set A cross B, phi is a subset of this set. So then what we are saying that phi is also a relation between these two sets A and B, and that gives the relation of the existence of no relation between the elements. because if phi is some subset, we say there is no element in this collection phi. So basically we say here that the elements of A and B are not even related with each other, and we express that relation by phi. So it's called the null relation. Phi is called the null relation. It expresses that there are no relation between the elements A and B. So usually we don't consider this null relation as properly as a relation between these two sets. So basically we say we focus on the number of non-null relations. Non-null relations from A to B, and that number we give as 2 to the power np minus 1. That is the phi we are subtracting from this total number of relations. So 2 to the power np minus 1, it is the number of non-null relation from A to B. Okay. So now we do the domain and range for these relations. Okay. So the domain of a relation. Domain and range. So suppose we are considering a relation R from A to B. Symbolically we can write this like this. R is a relation from A to B, and it is a subset, we know that it is a subset of A cross B. And it can be written in roster form like this, as a set builder form like this. It is a collection of all A comma B such that A belongs to A, B belongs to B, and A is related to B. So in this case, the first set that gives the element A is called the domain of the relation. So we formally write it like this: domain of R, or you can write B suffix R as the collection of all these A belonging to capital A, such that ordered pair AB belongs to R or some B belongs to capital. So whenever A is related to some element of B, we call the collection of those A the domain. And also in the same way, we write the range like this: range bracket R, or we can write R suffix R. It is the collection of all the elements B belongs to capital B, such that AB belongs to capital R, and for some A belongs to capital A. So these are the two sets, domain and range. So if we can write the elements of A cross B, or we can write the elements of R in roster form, we can easily find the domain and range using this definition. We will see what are the first elements of these ordered pairs. That collection will be the domain, and what are the collection of all the elements which are in the second position in the pair. So that collection will be the range. So suppose we consider the relation that we have constructed previously with the ages 15, 17, 15, 44, and 44, 70. So see here, what is the domain for this relation? See, the first elements are 50 and 44. So we can write for this relation, the domain is 50, 44. And what is the range of this relation? We write the range as a collection of all the second elements. These are 17 and 44. So these are the domain and range. So in this way, we find the domain and range for a relation. Next comes the inverse relation. So what was the inverse relation? So we are considering R as a relation from A to B. So the relation in this situation that connects B to A is called the inverse relation. So we can write, we denote this relation inverse using the R inverse, and it is some relation between from B to A. So in this case, for a relation between A to B, that can be expressed as a subset of A cross B. So in the same manner, the R inverse relation can be considered as a subset of B cross A. So see, R and R inverse are different relations that are expressed differently, because we know that A cross B and B cross A are two different sets. So in that sense, we can say that R and R inverse are very much different. If we consider the relation on a single set, then we can say that relations R and R inverse are consisting of same type of elements. But in this case, the ordered pairs will rotate. Say if we consider A cross B for this relation, then this will be B cross A for this relation, R inverse. So usually we define R inverse in this way. It is the collection of all the elements A, B for which B, A belongs to R. Exactly the reverse order of pairs, the reverse order pairs are in the relation R. So if we try to find the reverse or the inverse relation in case of this one, we find it like 70, 15, 44, 15, and then 17, 44. So we can name this relation R as, or we can say here A will be longer than B. That expresses the relation R inverse, because previously the relation R was denoting, it is the relation that A is elder than B. So this was the relation R, that is A is elder than B. So R inverse expresses the relation A is younger than B, and that's why the ordered pairs are rotated, that is flipped. So these are all we have studied in class 11. So now we will proceed to the topics of class 12. Okay, so next what we do is the types of relations. And in this case, we usually consider the relations on a single set. Say we are considering the set as A. So we are considering the relations on A. And what are these? Suppose R is the relation, then we say this relation is a subset of the set A cross A. So let us see what are the types of these relations. The first one we say is the reflexive one. Number 2 is the symmetric. Number 3 is transitive. And there is another relation that are called the antisymmetric relation. And number 5, which is important, it's called the equivalence relation. Equivalence relation. Number 6 is called the cosec or the partial order relation. So these 6 types are there. We will discuss all one by one. Okay, so let us start. First one is called the reflexive relation. We define it like this. Say R is a relation from A to A. Then we say if R contains all the elements of the form A cross A, for all the elements A belongs to A, then we say that R is a reflexive relation. Then R is called a reflexive relation. So basically we want to know whether an element of A is related to itself or not. If it is related to itself, then we say that the relation is a reflexive one, provided this should hold for all the elements A. If for at least one element we see that A comma A is not belonging to the set R, we will say that the relation is not being a reflexive one. So say A is the set 1, 2, 3, and as we know that a relation is a subset of the set A cross A, suppose we are considering this relation from the ordered pair pairs of the elements of A cross A like this. Say 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, and 3, 3. So we consider the relation R as this. So see whether it is reflexive or not. Clearly we can see that there is 1, 1, there is 3, 3, but for the element 2, we don't have the ordered pair 2, 2 in the set. So here we say that since 2, 2 doesn't belong to R, then it is not a reflexive one. To be reflexive, the element 2, 2 should be in the relation. So the next one is a symmetric relation. Again, suppose R is a relation from A to A, then this relation is called symmetric if we see that for each ordered pair AB belonging to R, we see that the ordered pair BA is also belonging to R. So this word for each is very important. If we miss at least one element AB for which BA is not in the relation, then we say that this element, this relation is not reflexive. So we say if for each ordered pair AB belongs to R, BA belongs to R, then we can say R is symmetric. So let us see whether the previous relation, that is R equal to 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3. whether this relation is symmetric or not. So clearly you can see for the elements 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3 means a comma a, the elements of the form a comma a will always give the least symmetry, because if you flip the order, then it again becomes the same element. So the reverse order is in the set. So we will consider only those elements which are not in the form a comma a. So here 1 2, 1 3, 3 2 and 2 1. So see 1 2 and 2 1 are the reverse order of each other. So for 1 2 we have the element 2 1, like the definition. We have the element 2 1. So this is okay. But what is the case for the element 1 3? For this element, the element 3 1 should be in the set, but it is not. And similarly, for the element 3 2, the element 2 3 should be in the set, but again it is not. So we can give this reason that 1 3 belongs to R, but 3 1 doesn't belong to R. So that's why this relation is not a reflexive relation. Okay. So you can write, so R is not symmetric. If we can include the element 3 1 in the set, then we can, and also for 3 2, for 3 2, if we can include the element 2 3 in the set, then we can say the resulting relation will be a reflexive, because for all other elements the reverse order are in the set. Okay, so whether the relation that we have discussed before, that is 50, 70, 50, 44 and 50, and 44, 70 is reflexive. Clearly it is not, because or in general term we can write it like this: a, b such that a is elder than b. So for this kind of relation, see, if AB belongs to R, then we say A is elder than B. Now if A is elder than B, then B cannot be elder than A. So if AB belongs to R, it says that A is elder than B. Now since A is elder than B, we cannot say, this cannot imply that B is elder than A. So in this case, we can say that the belongingness of A, B doesn't imply the belongingness of the reverse order, that is B, A. Or we can say that this element is not in the relation. So we can say that this relation, that A is elder than B, is not a symmetric one. So whether we can say that this is reflexive, if A, belongs to this relation, then it will mean that A is elder than A. So clearly which is not possible. So we can say that this R is not even reflexive. So R is not reflexive. Okay. So these are some examples, and this is a symmetric relation on some set A. In the same sense, we define the transitivity. So the next one is transitive relations. So here we define transitive relations like this. Say again we consider R as a relation from A to A. Then we say that the relation is transitive if for each AB and BC belongs to R, the element AC will belong to R. Then we say R is transitive. Somehow the relation is being transited from A to B, then B to C. So basically, we say if A and B are related and B and C are related, so A and C will be also related. So somehow the relation is transited from A to C via B. So that's why this kind of relations are called transitive relations. So again, a word of caution that you should emphasize on this word for each, because if there are elements like AB and BC, then only we will check for the element AC. If there is some element AB and there is no element like BC, then we will not check for the element AC. So suppose we are considering the example 1 1 1 2 1 3 2 1 3 2 3 3. So first we consider 1 1. So if the element we consider AB as 1 1, so here B is 1. So for the element BC, we will check all the elements which starts with 1, that is B. So what are the elements here? It can be 1 1 itself. So then AB and BC, so then B and 1 are same here. So this will give AC, that is 1 1. It belongs to R. So if you take here 1 2, then C, you will get again 1 2, because 1 1 and 1 2, then the element AC becomes 1 2. So this will belong to R. So then we take 1 3. So this again becomes 1 3. So it belongs to R. Now see, whenever it is the element 1 1, and then we are taking the element like 1 1 1 2 1 3 these, so it will always become this type. That means if A and B are the same elements, then we can say with that element, if you take any element of the form BC, that will give this element exactly, because C is becoming anything, but A is the previous one, that is 1. Okay? So in this case, the elements will be the same as the previous one. Okay. So next we take the elements that starts with 1, and there are no elements starting with 1. So next we consider 2 1. So next we consider 1 2. So if 1 2 we are considering, then we will take the elements that will start from 2. So only one element is there, 2 1, and this gives the element AC as 1 1. That belongs to R. So for 1 2 and 2 1 there is no problem. So what is the case for 1 3? So if you take 1 3, the elements can be taken are 3 2 and 3 3. So for 1 3 and 3 2, you are getting 1 2, and for 3 3, again you are getting 1 3. So for the element 1 3 there is no problem. Again for 2 1. So for 2 1, we will take all the elements which are starting from 1. So again we can take 1 1. That will give us 2 1. It belongs to R. Next we take here, say it is 2 1 with 1 2, that gives 2 2, and that doesn't belong to R. So here the transitivity breaks for this relation, and it is breaking for only one element, means the relation is not being transitive. So here we can say that the relation R is not transitive. So if you inspect by elements, you have to check like this, and if the relation is given in the form of in a set builder form, then it becomes easy to check. So let us consider one of that type. So the relation R is defined on the set of integers, and it is defined like this: a minus b will be a multiple of 2. If this holds, then we take the element ab in the relation. Okay. So for transitivity, what we have to check? If AB and BC are in the relation, then we have to check whether AC is in the relation. So suppose we assume that AB and BC are belonging to the relation R. So then this condition will hold for AB and BC. So here we can say that A minus B is a multiple of 2. Moreover, we can say A minus B is in the form of 2k1, or say 2k, where k is some integer, because the multiples of 2 can be expressed like 2k. And also B minus C is again a multiple of 2, and that implies that B minus C is in the form of 2 m's for the integer m. So whether we can show that A minus C is also in the form of 2 into something. So then we can say that A comma C is also in the relation. So see, if we add these two conditions, what we see that B cancels out, and it remains A minus C as 2 into k plus m. Now since k and m are integers, k plus m will also be an integer. So A minus C is coming in the form of 2 into something. So we can say from here that A minus C is a multiple of 2. So we can say that the ordered pair AC is belonging to R. So whenever we have to check whether some element is in the relation, we have to verify whether the building criteria for the relation is being satisfied or not. So here we can see the building criteria for this relation is satisfying for the element A comma C. So that's why we can say that A comma C is belonging to R. So in this way we can say this relation is a transitive one without checking the elements. We are only checking the condition. So that's how we can check whether the relation is being transitive or not. This relation A minus B is a multiple of 2, or any integer, say A minus B is a multiple of n. This relation has a fancy name. It's called the congruence relation. In the examples we will give more details on this kind of relations. For now, just I am mentioning it. Okay, so this is all about transitive relations. So next we see the type antisymmetry. Antisymmetric relations are defined in this way. If, say, again we are considering the relation R from A to A, then R is called antisymmetry if we see that AB and BA belonging to R, it will imply that A equals to B. That means only for the elements A comma A, it will be symmetric. So AB and BA belonging to R means it is being symmetric, and this will imply that A equals to B. That means the relation R will be symmetric only for the elements A equals to B. So when we say R is antisymmetric, okay, so suppose we consider the set of natural numbers n, and we define the relation R on n as this. It should be ordered pair A comma B, where A is less or equals to B. So being lesser or equal to, we consider this relation. So let us check whether it is antisymmetric or not. See, it says that if AB and BA are belonging to the element, then we have to show that A is equal to B. So let us assume that AB and BA are togetherly belonging to the relation R. So then we can say by the building criteria that A is less or equals to B, and for BA we can say B is less or equals to A. So combining these two, we get A equals to B. So this becomes antisymmetric. So here we can say that R is antisymmetric. Okay, so let us take another example. We take the power set of a set. So suppose we consider the power set of A for any set A. Not equals to 5, because we don't want trivial situations. So here, if we apply the relation R on the power set of A like this, R is equal to, the elements of power sets are sets, so we consider the elements to be capital letters. Like so, say the elements are E1 and E2. Where E1, E2 are belonging to power set of A, and the relation is being the inclusion relation, or that's called the subset relation. E1 is a subset of E2. So whether this relation is a reflexive one, whether this relation is antisymmetric or not. So suppose we consider two elements E1 and E2, so that both these ordered pairs are belonging. Here we can say that E1 is a subset of E2, and also E2 is a subset of E1, and we know by the definition of set equality of two sets that these two combinedly says that E1 is equal to E2. So this gives that the relation R is an antisymmetric relation. So the next type is equivalence relation. So suppose we consider again the relation R from A to A. It's called equivalence. If number one, R is reflexive, number two, it's symmetric, and number three, it's transitive. So if these three holds togetherly, then we say that the relation R is called the equivalence relation on E. So let us take an example. For example, we take the relation R equal to 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3 that we have taken previously. First of all, we check whether it is reflexive or not. Clearly you can see only 1, 1 and 3, 3 is there and 2, 2 is not in the set, so we can say it is not reflexive. So 2, 2 doesn't belong to R, imply R is not reflexive. So the part 1 is done. Number 2, we check the symmetry. Again, here you see that 1, 3 is there, but 3, 1 is not there. Or you can say 3, 2 is there, but 2, 3 is not there. So the reverse order for some elements like 1, 3 and 3, 2 are not in the set. So here we can say 1, 3 belong to R, but 3, 1 doesn't belong to R, and this implies that R is not symmetric. And the last one, number 3, the transitivity. We have seen, for example, that 2, 1 is there and 1, 3 is there, but 2, 3 is not in the set. So we give it like this: 2, 1 and 1, 3 belongs to R, but 2, 3 doesn't belong to R. And that implies that R is not transitive. So neither of the conditions qualify for this one. So we can easily say by any one of these that R is not an equivalence relation. Okay, so remember, whenever we have to check whether a relation is reflexive or not, and we see that the first condition, that is the reflexivity, is not being held. So straightforward from that condition we can say that the relation will not be an equivalence one. Here, just for checking, I have done all the 3 conditions, but in exam you can say it from here, from the first, or whenever one of the conditions is not being held, from there you can say that the relation is not being equivalence. So let us take another example that is an important one. Example 2, we take the congruence relation for n on the set of integers. So first of all, this relation sometimes called the congruence modulo n relation. This n corresponds to this n. So let us check whether it is a equivalence or not. The first one that we check is the reflexivity. So what we have to check whether a comma a belong to the set or belong to the relation. So clearly for that we have to check a minus a, because instead of b we are taking a. So for the element a comma a we have to check whether a minus a is a multiple of n or not. And clearly it is, because it is 0 and 0 can be written as 0 into n. So from here you can say that a minus a is a multiple of n. So a comma a will belong to R for all a. For all a belongs to Z. So from here we can say R is reflexive. Okay, number 2, the symmetry we have to check. So we assume that AB is belonging to R. So by the building criteria we can say that A minus B is a multiple of n, and that can be written as nk, where k is an integer. Okay. So we have to check whether B comma A is belonging to the set or not. So see, from here we can write B minus A is n into minus k, and k is an integer means minus k is also an integer, so it is divisible by n. So here we can write B comma A belongs to R, and that means R is symmetric. So the final condition is transitivity. For that we assume that AB and BC belong to R for any three elements ABC. So assume AB, BC belongs to R. Then from this we can say A minus B is some multiple of n, and B minus C is also a multiple of n, so where K1 belongs to Z and K2 belongs to Z. So we have seen previously that adding these two, this minus B and B will cancel out, and we will get A minus C is n into K1 plus K2. And since this K1 and K2 are integers, we can say that K1 plus K2 is also an integer. So A minus C is being a multiple of n. So from here we can write that A comma C belong to R, and this implies that R is transitive. So from these 1, 2, 3, we can say that the relation of congruence modulo n is an equivalence one. Okay. So here we write that R is an equivalence relation. There are more details on equivalence relation. They form partitions on a set, and we will see in a separate video. So for now, we proceed to partial order relations. Number 6 is the partial order relations. This is also a combination of three types of relation. We say that a relation R on a set A is called a partial order relation, on A if we see that AB and BA, if we see that R is number 1 reflexive, number 2 it's anti-symmetric instead of being symmetric, like the case of equivalence relation, and number 3 it is transitive. Okay. So if these three holds together, that is reflexive, antisymmetric and transitive, then we say that the relation is a partial order relation. So usually this type of relation gives an ordering on the set A, and that's why we call this relation a partial order. Let us see an example, then we will understand much more clearly. For example, we take the relation R is the collection of all ordered pairs AB such that A is less or equals to B on the set of real numbers. So one by one we will check whether it is holding or not. So first of all we check the reflexivity. So for A comma A we have to check whether A is less or equals to A, and see we can say for all A belongs to R, A is less or equals to A because the equality is holding here. So we can say that A comma A belong to R, and that implies that R is reflexive. So number 2, we have to check whether it is antisymmetric or not. So what is the meaning of antisymmetric? It gives that whenever the ordered pairs AB and BA belong to the same set, then we can say A equals to B. So let us assume that AB and BA are belonging to the relation R. That will imply for AB, by the building criteria we can say A is less or equals to B, and for BA we can say B is less or equal to A. So combining these two we can say A is equal to B. So that gives the relation R is an antisymmetric relation. R is antisymmetric. So next we come to number 3, that is the transitive one. So let us assume that AB and BC belongs to R. Then by the building criteria we can say A is less or equal to B and B is less or equal to C. So combining these two we can say A is less or equals to B less or equals to C. That means removing B from here, that means you can write combining these two A less or equals to C, and that gives that A comma C is belonging to the relation R. So that means the relation R is transitive. So if it is being transitive, then all the three conditions are satisfying here for partial order relations. So here we can say that the relation R is a partial order relation on the set of real numbers. See another example for a partial order relation. So we consider the relation R between two sets E1 and E2, and the relation is being the inclusion relation, that is E1 is subset of E2 on the power set of A for any set A. So we will check this one is a partial order relation. Let us do it. So for number 1, we have to check whether it is reflexive or not. So for any E belonging to the power set of A, means E is a subset of E. See, we can impose the condition like this: E is a subset of E. This holds trivially because E is a subset of itself, we can say. So then we can say that E comma E, the ordered pair E comma E, is belonging to the relation R, and that means the relation R is reflexive. Okay. The next one, it is the antisymmetric one. So let us take two. So we assume E1 E2 and E2 E1 are belonging to R. That means we can say here that E1 is subset of E2 and E2 is subset of E1. So from here, by the condition of equality of two sets, we can say from here that E1 is equal to E2. And if E1 is equal to E2, then this relation is becoming an antisymmetric one. Okay, so number 2 is done. It is holding. So we come to number 3, and for that we assume that E1, E2 and E2, E3 belong to R. E1 is subset of E2 and also E2 is subset of E3. This together says that E1 is a subset of E3 because E1 is the smaller one and E3 is the largest one. So E1 will be contained in E3. So from here we can say that E1, E3, this ordered pair will belong to the relation R, and so we can conclude that R is transitive. So if R being transitive, then by all these three conditions, we can say that R is being a partial order relation on the power set of it. So here we conclude the final line that R is a partial order relation on the power set of A. So this is a nice example, and you can see how we can make the ordering for the elements, because if you take a set, suppose we are taking the set, suppose we are taking the set A. So suppose we are taking the set A as 1, 2, 3. Then we know what is the power set of it. It is 5, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 1, 2, then 1, 3, then 2, 3, and finally 1, 2, 3. So let us see what ordering we can define on this set, because this explanation says that we can define an ordering in this set. So see, we can give orders like this. Phi is subset of 1, is subset of 1, 2, is a subset of 1, 2, 3. Also, we can say phi is a subset of 2, subset of 1, 2, 1, yes, subset of 1, 2, it's a subset of 1, 2, 3. And in this way, we can order elements in a different number of ways. So, let us show all the orderings in one diagram. So we write the largest element in the top, then the second largest element in the second row, third largest element in the third row, the smallest one in the bottom. Then we will see in which way we can order them. So first of all, we can give an ordering to 5 to 1, then 1 to 1 2, then 1 2 to 1 to 3. We can order 5 1, then after that 1 3, then 1 2 3. We can make an order like this: 5 to 2, then to 1 2, then to 1 to 3. We can order it like this: 5 to 2 to 2 3 to 1 to 3. Also, we can order 5 to 3, then to 2 3, then to 1 to 3. We can order it like this: 5 to 3 to 1 3 to 1 2 3. So these all orderings we can define on this set using the partial order relation. So this is the way we order some set, or order the elements of some set using a partial order relation. There are many more things in this topic. This diagram is called the Hayes diagram. So let us stop here and finish the video here. We have covered all the topics in relations that are in our syllabus, and some topics like Hayes diagram which are out of our syllabus, but it is interesting to know that. One thing also I would like to say, that partial order relation and antisymmetric relation are not in our syllabus. I am saying it the last because I want you to see these topics because they are interesting. So here we end this video for relations. In a separate video, we will do some problem solving on relations. So that's all for now. E1 is subset of E2 and also E2 is subset of E3. This togetherly says that E1 is a subset of E3 because E1 is the smaller one and E3 is the largest one. So E1 will be contained in E3. So from here we can say that E1, E3, this ordered pair will belong to the relation R, and so we can conclude that R is transitive. So if R being transitive, then by all these three conditions we can say that R is being a partial order relation on the power set of it. So here we conclude the final line that R is a partial order relation on the power set of A. Okay. So this is a nice example, and you can see how we can make the ordering for the elements, because if you take a set